My wife thought I was too weak to leave, so I left without looking back. I used to believe that love meant staying. Staying when things got hard. Staying when you weren't appreciated. Staying when the person you loved slowly stopped seeing your value. For years, I convinced myself that loyalty was strength. What I didn't realize was that sometimes loyalty becomes a prison, and the person holding the key isn't your enemy. It's the person sleeping beside you. My name is Ethan, and for nearly 12 years, I was married to a woman named Rachel. From the outside, our life looked perfect. Nice suburban home, 2 cars in the driveway, weekend barbecues, vacation photos on social media. The kind of marriage people assumed was solid. But appearances are cheap. The truth lived behind closed doors. And behind those doors, I was slowly disappearing. When Rachel and I first met, she wasn't like that. She was funny, ambitious, and incredibly charming. She made me feel important, needed, chosen. Back then, I worked long shifts at a manufacturing company while she was finishing her marketing degree. I paid most of the bills, helped with tuition, worked overtime whenever money got tight. I wasn't keeping score. I loved her. I wanted her dreams to become reality. When she graduated and landed a great job, I was genuinely proud. I remember taking her out to celebrate. I looked at her across the restaurant table and thought, we made it. But somewhere along the way, we became her career, her success, her achievements, and I became invisible. At first, it was small things. She'd interrupt me when I spoke, correct me in front of friends, laugh at my opinions. Nothing dramatic, just enough to make me feel a little smaller each time. Then the comments started. Ethan wouldn't understand. Ethan's not exactly ambitious. Ethan likes simple things. Everyone laughed, including Rachel, especially Rachel. And every time it happened, I'd force a smile, because I didn't want to be the sensitive husband who couldn't take a joke. The problem was that after hearing the same joke for years, you start wondering if everyone believes it, including you. As Rachel climbed higher in her company, her attitude changed. She started treating income like a measure of human value. Since she earned more than me, she acted like her opinions mattered more. Her decisions mattered more. Her time mattered more. I became an employee in my own marriage. One night I suggested taking a road trip, just the 2 of us, like we used to. She didn't even look up from her phone. Honestly, Ethan, I don't have time for that. I nodded. But a few minutes later, I heard her laughing with someone through a text conversation. The kind of laugh she hadn't shared with me in years. That feeling stayed with me. A quiet discomfort. A growing suspicion. But I ignored it, because that's what people do when they're afraid of the truth. Months passed. The distance between us became impossible to ignore. Rachel stayed late at work constantly. Business dinners, networking events, weekend conferences. There was always a reason, always an explanation. And whenever I questioned it, she'd act offended. Do you not trust me? About manipulation is that it turns your concern into guilt. Eventually, I stopped asking questions. Until the night everything changed. It happened on a Thursday. Rachel had fallen asleep on the couch. Her phone buzzed beside her. I wasn't trying to snoop. I really wasn't. But the screen lit up, and I saw a name. Jason. Followed by a message. I miss waking up next to you. My stomach dropped. For a second I convinced myself there had to be another explanation. Then, another message appeared. Can't wait until he finally figures it out. My hands went cold. I opened the conversation, and my world shattered. Photos, messages, hotel reservations, months of lies, months of betrayal. Rachel wasn't working late. She was having an affair. And the worst part? She wasn't even trying to hide how little she respected me. In one message she wrote, Ethan would never leave. He's too weak. I stared at those words for what felt like hours. Too weak. Not heartbroken, not angry, weak. After everything I'd done for her, after every sacrifice, every overtime shift, every dream I'd put on hold, that was how she saw me. Not as a husband, not as a partner, just a man too afraid to walk away. Something changed inside me that night. The strange thing is that I didn't cry. I didn't confront her. I didn't throw the phone. I didn't scream. Because for the first time in years I felt calm. The kind of calm that arrives when a difficult decision finally becomes obvious. Rachel thought I was too weak to leave, so I decided to prove her wrong. Quietly, patiently, completely. Over the next few weeks I said nothing. I gathered documents, separated finances, spoke with an attorney, found an apartment, created a plan. Meanwhile, Rachel continued living like nothing was wrong. She came home late, ignored me, talked down to me, and every time she did, my decision became easier. One evening, she looked around the house and said, "You know, Ethan, without me, you'd probably be lost." I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because she had no idea what was coming. A month later, I received a promotion opportunity. A regional operations position in another state. Years earlier, I would have turned it down for Rachel. This time I accepted immediately. The move was scheduled for 6 weeks later, and Rachel still knew nothing. Final straw. We attended a company event. Rachel introduced me to her coworkers. One executive asked what I did for work. Before I could answer, Rachel smiled and said, "Oh, Ethan's happy where he is. He doesn't really like responsibility." Everyone laughed politely. Something inside me snapped. Not loudly, not dramatically, just permanently. That was the moment I stopped loving her. The moment I realized I deserved better. 6 weeks later, everything was ready. The apartment, the job, the legal paperwork, everything. Rachel left for a weekend trip she claimed was business-related. I knew exactly who she was meeting. While she was gone, I packed my belongings. Not much, just the things that mattered. The house felt strangely peaceful, like it knew the storm was finally ending. Before leaving, I placed a single envelope on the kitchen counter. Inside were divorce papers, and a short note. It said, "You were right about one thing. I should have left a long time ago. Goodbye." Then I walked out. No speech, no argument, no second chances, no looking back. For the first time in years, I felt free. Rachel called 37 times that weekend. I didn't answer. She texted endlessly, first angry, then confused, then desperate. Eventually one message appeared. "Please talk to me." I ignored it, because after years of being unheard, I finally understood the power of silence. The divorce process wasn't easy. Rachel fought it at first, not because she loved me, because she couldn't believe I'd actually left. People like Rachel don't expect consequences. They expect forgiveness, endless forgiveness. But that wasn't happening. Months passed. I settled into my new life, my new city, my new career, and slowly, something incredible happened. I started recognizing myself again. I joined a gym, made new friends, took weekend trips, read books, learned new skills. For years I'd been surviving. Now I was living. Then one afternoon, almost a year after the divorce, Rachel contacted me again. Curiosity more than anything. She sounded different. Smaller. Less confident. Jason had left her. Apparently he'd been cheating too. The irony was almost unbelievable. Rachel told me she'd made mistakes. That she'd been selfish. That she missed me. Missed us. Then she asked a question. The question she'd probably rehearsed for weeks. "Do you think we could ever try again?" I looked out my office window. At the life I'd rebuilt. At the peace I'd fought to find. And I realized something. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't hurt anymore. I wasn't even interested in revenge. Because the greatest revenge had already happened. I survived without her. I became happy without her. I proved every assumption she made about me was wrong. So I answered honestly, no. Silence. Then a quiet sniffle. Why not? I thought about that for a second. Then I said, because the man you left behind doesn't exist anymore. And for the first time, I truly meant it. We ended the call shortly after. That was the last conversation we ever had. Sometimes people ask if I regret leaving. The answer is simple. No. I regret waiting so long. I regret believing loyalty meant accepting disrespect. I regret mistaking patience for weakness. But leaving? Never. Because the hardest truth I learned is this. The people who underestimate you often depend on you staying exactly where you are. They build their confidence on your silence, their comfort on your sacrifice, their power on your willingness to endure. And the moment you walk away, everything changes. Rachel thought I was too weak to leave. She thought I'd spend my life accepting whatever scraps of love she decided to give me. She was wrong. Not because I became stronger overnight, but because eventually I remembered my worth. And once you remember your worth, some doors close forever. The day I left, I didn't gain revenge. I gained freedom. And sometimes, that's the most powerful victory of all.